Thank you, Rick. That very good pronunciation of my first name. I always say that the challenging one is the first name, not the last name. The last one is just long. So it's Manomaivibool. But the first one is not Panate, it's Panate. Well, this is the last session. This is quite challenging for you and also for me because I feel like this is 3 a.m. in the morning for me and also for the Thai team, So we are quite sleepy. I almost say good morning. Well, so today I'm going to present the policy issues and challenges in Thailand about developing the policy intervention. And by the way, I am the alumni of the US summer school, the first one from 2009. So actually, that kind of brings me back to this kind of research. So thank you, Dr. Kovic, to drag me back to the US world. Because after I went back, I graduated from Sweden. But since I've been working in Thailand at Mae Fah Luang University, my work has been focusing on municipal solid waste. But from time to time, when I take a picture of garbage, I ran into e-waste, but not the whole one, of course. People would definitely take away copper. So this is just what they cannot sell easily in Chiang Rai. But today, I think I'm going to go a little bit further back. This is my doctoral dissertation. I draw that one. That's why in the cover, it has nothing to do with EPR or e-waste. But anyway, my professor said, put anything you want. It's about extended producer responsibilities. And I think I don't need to spend so much time. This is a policy approach trying to ask the producer to take many types of responsibilities. My Professor Thomas Lindquist, he differentiates between many responsibilities, and one way to show all the responsibility is maybe like in Fuji Xerox, you take the ownership, you retain the ownership, you just leasing it. This is product service system. And we're assuming that if they can be internalized, this responsibility, hopefully the producer will taking better care of the product. So we have upstream objective. In Lund, we call it like that, upstream objective. Like after they're taking responsibility over recycling collection, they would redesign their product. I think we have some short discussion about design for this assembly. That is just a tiny example. Or maybe some system change, product service system, for example. Admittedly, EPR policy, in practice, they didn't go that far to upstream improvement. Most of them focus on the downstream improvement, which is not that bad, actually. Improve in collection, treatment, and resource conservation, increase recycling. These are the measures that we see in OECD countries, so I just skipped that. My research started in 2006, when we got the news from India that they're about to copy and paste the EU directive, which is like, well, would it work in that context? So I was sent to India, and I met many people from MPAO also, and GTZ at that time, it's GIZ now. To make the long story short, these are what we found, the condition in India back in 2007, and I think it's still applicable in many developing countries, even today. So EPR would be quite difficult to implement if you have some producer that you cannot identify. So we don't only have informal sector in recycling sector. We also have some informal player selling the product. That can be problematic if you're asking them to be responsible, but you cannot identify them. And then you can also have the problem of import of second-hand product and e-waste into the country. Lastly, I think we talked so much today about the waste dealer and backyard recycler. That's just part of the system. If you want to create EPR policy in this country, you need to think about these two as well. Do you take them as the recycler or producer in this system, for example? Well, but it's not impossible. So in that paper, if you want, I think I sent it to Rick. Hopefully it will be circulated later. You can see the discussion. In India and in China, the issue that brings attention of the policymaker to this issue are importation of e-waste into the country. After the study in India, I take a look back to my own country. to my surprise, actually, we are quite knowledgeable at that time. This is 2007, 2008. Apparently, the Thai government has learned about this issue since 2000. And it's not about importation, backyard recycling. At that time, I think Kok Sa'at still haven't received all these e-waste. But they're concerned about the effect of this EU policy that would impact the industry. So that's why the government start to learn more about e-waste. And then they realize that, well, actually, it's not that big impact. And if there would be impact, the producer would take care of it anyway. I mean, Sony and Toshiba, who have factory in Thailand, they would update their supplier. So that's not much a concern. But what we get from all those studies is the e-waste was rising in Thailand. And we have many additional drivers. Like at one time, we have the government who have the bright idea, should we give all the tablet to all the school students? So we end up with 2.4 million more e-waste in 1 year because this tablet is government procurement and it broke down very easily. For some reason, if you have government equipment, it broke down. And we have a big flood. Back in, I think, 2011, maybe, yeah, a lot of e-waste generated. So additional on the smooth graph that we predicted using the method that I think you and you also use, we also have additional driver that increase this equipment. And the second issue that we encounter, this is how Thai people, based on our survey, about 1,000 samples, how they do with electronic waste. Of course, it's different between refrigerator, computer, and other hazardous items. But this is the overall. More than half, they sell their product to waste dealer, to junk shop. So this is quite a challenge of how we will be able to create a new system to synergize with them, or should we compete with them? That's kind of the big policy issue back then. And the issue number 3 start to coming up at the end of the last decade. I think this is one of the first study in that area by Asian Foundation. This might be the first researcher who went into that area before it became a hotspot. So you see that 10 years has passed. Nothing much changed, I think. Rick, you still see almost the same activity, maybe in the larger scale. So those are the issues that we want to tackle. We spent from 2000 and 2018. We have 8 prime ministers during that time. We still not have yet the law like in Chile. We have 3 draft laws. I involved in 2 of them. So the one in 2010 and the one in 2014. So these are the 3 prime ministers where we have the draft law coming out. The way we trying to design the policy are quite different from the traditional EPR. The first draft in 2004, they say that yes, you have responsibility, but just paying the money. And the industry at that time, they don't want to dealing with organization, collection, recycling. So the first draft suggests that if the producer just pay product fee to the government fund, then the government can use these to subsidize local government to take back the product from the consumer. That would be okay. We did a further study. We realized that we are not the first one who thought about this idea. They already implemented in Taiwan for a decade. And it was quite successful. So we studied this 4-in-1 system in Taiwan. And we do further improvement in the second draft. So we do willingness study, willingness to pay study, willingness to accept study, how much consumer would accept in order to bring back electronic waste. And what would be the cost to organize this transportation, collection, and recycling in the kind of semi-informal sector. We allow some manual dismantling and part of the mechanization. These are the challenges. The first one, if you want to go for this model, these are the costs. Sorry, it's in Thai baht, but you can divide by 30 to get the US dollar. I think that's the easiest way. So you can see that there are some green items. This is an item that we calculate that even if you go for the formal sector, you still make some profit. So what you need is really to have this incentive for the consumer to bring it back to the formal system. For the recycling collection, the value of the metal would pay back for the storage, transportation, recycling. But for television, air conditioner, refrigerator, of course, lamp and battery, we need also to subsidize part of the storage, transportation, and recycling. So the fee that would be put on the product price would be quite significant. And of course, the industry, they don't like this idea at all. The second problem, now when we start to talk about the governmental fund, we activate one more agency. In the beginning, it's the fight between the Ministry of Environment and the industry, who should take the lead. Eventually, Pollution Control Department kind of won that battle. They put up the law. When they suggest that we should have the governmental fund, they activate another powerful ministry, Ministry of Finance. They said, hold on a minute. We don't want each ministry to have their own fund. So they come up with a new law at that time. And I would not make this complex story. I will not go into the detail. But more or less, this is a kind of the tug war between these three ministries. The result is that the second draft law failed, because eventually when we have the new government, the Minister of Finance pull out the draft law. So we go back to the stage one. The last challenge at that time was the lobby from the industry. Of course, they don't like that proposal, because the product fee would add into the price of the product, which eventually might affect their sale. So the same proposal came up in Vietnam in 2009. They successfully stopped that. And the Vietnamese government in 2013, they announced the new solution, which is EPR. The same things happened in India also. So in 2012, they have another law in India. We have some problem with operationalization, how EPR can be implemented in this country. I don't have time to go into detail. But what happened is, in the third draft law we have in Thailand, we kind of negotiate between the government and the industry. And the result is kind of the hybrid policy. So we do not fix that we wouldn't have the governmental fund, but these are the waste management. We would expect the consumer would have choice between the take-back requirement to the producer and retailer and the local government collection system. The government would decide with the stakeholder which product should come under this law. So they announce the list of the product, and the default system is after your product, like television, air conditioner, refrigerator, would be listed as the designated product. The producer of this product need to submit the plan and report the sale to the government. And eventually, the government might be able to set the target. If that don't work, the law would have another article, empower the government to announcing the product fee, because the government already have the information about what fee should be set for this product. And that would go into not the new fund, but the existing National Environmental Fund. So we have option A and B, to say the least. The option A, like I mentioned, we can set the target for the producer to collect the product. And eventually, the producer would be the one who have to support the collection and recycling. The second option, we go to the national fund, and the government commit some seed money to this fund also. So this is kind of how we architect this system. Well, the last slide. The biggest challenge now is we only in this stage of the policy development. And it's still quite some time before we can materialize this one, especially in this political situation. I mean, we finished the draft in 2014, we revised with big time 2015, now it's already 18. We're still waiting for the government and the acting parliament who will still reviewing this draft, so it's quite a long way. But I would like to end with kind of a positive thinking, because I think in political science, there was a theory by John Kindon, I think, about the multiple stream. So at least the problem stream has been identified and studied. We have the solution ready, many solutions actually. So what are we waiting right now is the political window. Hopefully, if these three streams can be coupled, then we would be able to see some concrete solution. So that's the Mae Luang University. So thank you for your attention. We'll be happy to discuss with you in the panel.